Good afternoon. Hi. It's turning two for July the 2nd, 2021. My name is Gregory Todd Roberts. We are here live every Friday bringing you the 411 on what's going on, news, information, and more. This is your show. We want to thank you for listening, or if you're watching on Facebook, or if you would like to watch this future, say, if you are on the road and would like to watch this program, they rotate back again on the radio stations. So that's on WVS 103.7 or M106 Rockin' Soul. The weather for the next several days, and the weather people last week told us that it was going to rain all week, but this is what we got. Friday, it's looking nice. 73, low of 61. Saturday, partly cloudy. High of 86, low of 55. Sunday, high of 86, low of 68. Monday, high of 82, low of 72. Tuesday, high of 81, low of 64. And Wednesday is a 40% chance of rain. High of 73, low of 61. People, let me slow the show down. And again, I want to thank you for watching or listening to the show and your support. But I want you to slow down and as we celebrate Independence Day, which I will talk about a little bit after the show. At the end of the show. I want you to remember the people in Florida that they are still down there conducting. Matter of fact, several more bodies were found, including a 7-year-old child of a firefighter, and as a past firefighter, while I can relate. So keep them in mind. And also I want you to keep in mind that you're not promised tomorrow. So take advantage of the day. We're going to add a new segment to this show, This Day in History, on July 2nd. In 1839, Amistad, the mutiny, happened. And 1881, President James Garfield was shot. A couple of months later, he passed away. Italian inventor Marconi did something that people had tried for years, is to communicate, but he designed a way to communicate through waves called radio. That's right. And in 1964, and it's funny that we're still going through this, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and it became law. So those things happened on this date, July the 2nd, July 2nd, okay? Also, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going to be happening on the show. In the next couple of weeks, we got Jan Hermanson coming on from Muskegon Government Credit Union to talk about credit, loans, what's a good score, all that information. We're going to bring that information on as well. Now, so our topic this week is what in the heck is happening in the unfriendly skies. People are fighting. Stewards, flight attendants are getting beat. People are charging to go to the cockpit. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know if my guest is ready or not. Or are we still searching for Karen? Is Karen there? Our guest today is going to be Karen Bowie Jenkins, who's no stranger to the show, as she serves as a political analyst. As also, she comes on regularly to talk about issues. But she's also a flight attendant, and we're going to be talking about that as well. until we get her on, I'm going to go to my comments about July 4th. July 4th is Independence Day, where this country celebrates its independence. Now, you know that. At least I hope you know what we're supposed to be celebrating and why we're supposed to be celebrating. But let me tell you a little bit about our democracy and our independence. It is on, put it this way, it's in trouble. It's no way to deny it. There's no way to speak against it. It's in trouble. And for the things that give us the liberty to be like on the radio and to be on TV and to go to church and to do all these other these things are in jeopardy. And what it's going to take is us getting involved. And speaking of getting involved, there's a primary election happening in August where there are several candidates I know are running in Muskegon. We will check out Muskegon Heights. They are closed today. We're going to get those candidates on. Candidates, we're going to reach out to you. Excuse me. We're going to reach out to you. Please respond. Please respond, because if you want to serve the people, we Ryan that back up. If you want to serve the people, then people need to hear, and you need to be where people can talk and reach you. So we're going to reach out for you to let you get your spin on what is happening in Muskegon County. Now, if you would like to join the show today in comments, you can go to our Facebook site, our media sites on M106 Rock and Soul, WVS 103.7 The Beat. Let us know what your questions will be. If you're a candidate watching the show today, just let us know that you're in, and we will get your name and your information and put you on. Also, while I'm waiting for Karen, I want to take the time to talk to you about the Independence Day in the regards of a lot of people don't see and don't feel like celebrating Independence Day. Why? Because I mentioned to you earlier that in 1964, the Civil Rights Act became law, guaranteeing the right for people to have the right to vote without any problems. All right, Jack Page just said that he will come on and talk. So, Jack, we're going to get your information and schedule you. Jack is running for a city commission seat. We will get you on. Thank you so much, Jack, for watching and listening. And we have you on. Actually, you watch every week, so thank you for doing that. So I want to get back to this independent thing. In 1964, President Lyndon Johnson signed in the Civil Rights Act, and it became law. Well, if you notice what's going on, depending on who you are or what you believe, I just want to say that things seem to be heading backwards. If you look at laws are restricting your right to vote. The Supreme Court are backing some of those things as well. So look, people, as we have said every year as this radio station has been opened, don't sit up and wait for people to do stuff that you need to be doing. Do not let people take your rights, your individual rights away from you. And with that said, I want to talk real quickly about the U.S. economy. 850,000 jobs were added in June, as they're saying that the economy is starting to rebound, which is going to bring an interesting twist to the infrastructure bill. Um, they want to, it is no doubt, if you're driving, right now, and if you're at home, you can look out on your street and say, or as you're crossing a bridge, or if you're in the area and you don't have the internet, we got to catch up. We have to fix these things. We need to do this. But we also have another issue. We have an issue where everybody's hiring coming out of COVID, which we're still, wait a minute, we're still in COVID. You do know that, right? Um, but people, as the country is now starting to get back to normal, people need parts. People need sandwiches. People need food. And there are a lot of job opens out there. And if you caught, we did a couple shows about why people are not coming back to work. Why are there so many jobs out there? And so there are a lot of jobs being added out there. This is the perfect time for you to find employment because, as we said before, you are not going to see a job market like this where you get paid the rates, the incentives that people are trying to do. So that's just some food for thought. I want to talk about next week's guest is Jan Hermanson from the Muskegon Governmental Credit Union. Do you know your credit score? Do you even care about your credit score? Do you know how that affects your life? Do you know about interest rates? Do you keep on your interest rate? If you own your property, how much is your property worth? Are you checking on that? What about your taxes? How are your taxes assessed? I mean, if people, property is power. Let me say that. To own property is power. So we're gonna have Jan Hermanson, and Jan and I go back a long ways because I'm transparent when it comes down to my life because I want people to have a better life and to experience a better life. Jan helped me when I was going through a crisis, and I said to Jan, Jan, we want to get a house, and my credit looks terrible. And this is before I understood credit scores and um, I might look like I got the fancy pad behind me, but don't let the green screen fool you. But Jan gave me some advice, and she told me if you do X, Y, and Z, then you're this will happen. Jack Page, credit scores are one of the biggest holdbacks to first-time home buyers in the city of Muskegon. You got that right, Jack. There are homes that are being built everywhere. And a lot of people that are living in these neighborhoods or renting in these neighborhoods that will like to buy in these neighborhoods are finding out that they don't have the right credit scores and stuff like that. And so we need to talk about that because if you want to own, you're a first time person and you're a homeowner and you don't know how to get through that process, or you want to buy a car, or you don't understand that your credit score actually can affect the jobs that you get. Yeah, yeah, it does. So we're going to be talking to her next week. Again, I told you that we will be getting politicians on because not only is July, the mail out ballots have already gone out. And so people are already voting already. So it's important for you to know who the people are that are running. And we want to make sure we get all these individuals on air. Now, I'm going to just be transparent again and tell you one thing is that it is super hard for the producer, Lady J, by the way, thank you so much, to call individuals and ask them for the show or myself to get you on the show to talk to the people that you represent. What in the world is going on? And so please make yourself available. Also, in the House, let's go to Washington. In the House, they voted, and Nancy Pelosi, they have just put a commission together to decide what happened January 6th. Good for them. Now, let's get back to the show. The show title is What's Going On Those Unfriendly Skies. My guest today is Karen Bowie Jenkins. What up, girl? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so sorry. I took me a minute to get logged in. I'm over to my godbrother's house, helping him straighten up. He lost his father, so I'm here helping out.
I'm so sorry about that. Send our condolences and prayers. Um, Karen, a lot of people know you maybe as a county clerk. You have served in so many capacities, but they don't know that you are a flight stewardess or flight
A flight
attendant.
attendant.
Yeah.
Flight attendant. Yes.
How long have
Yes.
you
I've
been?
been. I've been with American Airlines now for 9 years.
9 years.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about in those 9 years and thousands of flights and all that kind of stuff. What in the world is going on? What are you seeing in the skies right now? Because if we wait on the news, because we're here to break the glass and get rid of the smoke and get you to the truth. What is going on?
Well, part of it is a carryover. We started to see this even before the pandemic. Um, and you can't place all the blame on leadership, but we started seeing the change in attitudes, the racial attitudes, not only from the customers, but also from our coworkers and especially some of the pilots. And we started to see the racial issues start to come up more. And that was because we had a president that stoked those fires of racism. And so we started to see some of the animosities coming out on the plane. We have a diversity and equality and an inclusion program that American implemented because there were so many racial issues. I'm trying to get my phone ready. Um, and so after the pandemic, it seemed like it went to a whole nother level after the pandemic. And well, they started flying again because they laid a majority of us off. I think there was 9,000 flight attendants from American that got furloughed.
Mm,
And so the issue now is that all of those people that were furloughed, including the pilots, you just can't get back into work the next day. Once they call you back, we have to go back through recertification, which takes a while.
hmm
For pilots, it's even more. I believe it's like almost 2 months for the pilots to get back trained properly, and flight attendants. Ours is depending on how long you've been out. It's normally a 3 to 4 day process, and so they laid too many people off, and so people are getting frustrated because the flights are being canceled due to lack of staffing with the pilots. Those that they did call back, some of them were displaced to different states, and so they're having to commute to get to work also.
hmm
And if flights are canceled or oversold, they can't get to work. So then it's a ripple effect that you don't have enough staff. So I think a lot of the issues too with the mask mandates caused a lot of the issues on the airplanes and within the airports, because those individuals who were anti-maskers um, were always giving the flight attendants issues about keeping their mask on properly during the entire flight.
hmm
And that's where you started to see the rise in violence on the planes, them hitting the flight attendants, passengers getting into fights. Um, and so that's when the FAA had to finally step in and say, enough is enough. We've had flight attendants who have lost eyes, have been seriously injured. And the FAA is now doing substantial fines. I believe it begins at 35,000. and jail time and no fly lists for the rest of their lives. Um, but a lot of it is these I think it's pent up emotions and people finally feeling like they can travel again, but angry at the restrictions that are still in place, um, and just a lack of respect. If you notice, uh, the individuals that are being attacked, the flight attendants, I don't think there's been one African American, maybe one. It's almost like they know the type of individuals to pull this on. Um, they train us, and I'm surprised that there hasn't been more fight back from the flight attendants because they train us in martial arts and they train us in self defense.
Really?
Yes, that's part of our training. You can't pass training until you pass the um, self defense portion.
Wow.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. So let me say this about you, Karen, because um, before somebody go, well, she's one of those haters when it comes down. You follow your politics to the T. You
Mhm.
vote for the person, and you study it through and through. I know that for a fact because I've been with
Mhm.
you for 20 some odd years doing coverage,
Right.
but I've also watched you as a candidate as well. So it ain't like she's being hated. She's just telling it what's going on, the truth.
Yeah. That's exactly what's been going on. I mean, it started during the Trump presidency that I started seeing the racial issues escalate in the air industry. We had pilots that were coming on board with the "Make America Great" hats, "Making America Great" stickers, and then you had the Black Lives Matter pins that American Airlines authorized us to wear, and it caused so many issues between flight personnel, between the pilots and through the flight attendants, and it was just tension. I mean, there was times that the bus or the van or the limousine that picks us up at the airport to take us to our hotel was dead silent, and you could just feel the
Wow.
tension. And I mean, and then some of them felt, especially the pilots, felt empowered to say just really off the wall things, to the flight attendants, and especially if you were a woman or a man of color, or gay or lesbian. They just felt comfortable to say crazy stuff. And so it's caused somewhat of a hostile work environment at times at work. And um, American has been pretty good at addressing those issues because they've been going straight to HR.
Mhm,
Um, but it's been an overflow. So it's not only the customers, it's also your coworkers that
mhm.
has caused some of the issue. Um, what's scary is when you have those type of violent interactions in the air, it really limits what you can do. Um, a lot of times they're over spaces that they can't divert, or you don't know if it's a distraction because we've been trained with that too. Um, if someone's trying to cause a chaotic scene to distract you from the safety of the cockpit. So not only do we have to be able to deal with the issues of the people being violent, you have to be totally aware, if that's not a distraction, to be able to hijack the plane.
Well, so first of all, let's run this back. So you can't even go to work with people that put their political agendas aside and
Mm-mm.
come to work and do their job. So you got to
No.
deal with that first.
Yes.
And then after that, while you guys are trying to do your job with people with their agendas, you got to deal with people with their agendas and people, it's just tense.
Right. Right. And when people travel, it amazes me. It's almost like they leave their common sense at home. Um, they get on the flight, they have a bag that's 10 times too big to get into the overhead bin, and it's like putting a square peg in a round hole, and they'll sit there and try to shove it in, and it doesn't fit. So then we come along and say, try to be as accommodating as possible. We'll make sure that we check your bag because it's not going to fit, sir. And you get cussed out. And so it's totally changed in the 9 years that I've been there.
Now you've had individuals that that have been attacked or been cussed out, or haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've been cussed out myself.
How do you maintain your composure? Because Karen, I mean, you do that, but you also, there's so much that you do in the community. In Texas, you have 2 schools, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you have 2 schools in Texas. You're serving in the airlines. There's so many things that you can say, forget this. How do you maintain your composure and don't lose your religion?
It's hard sometimes. There's been times that I just have to walk away and I just don't say anything. Just for the mere fact of I don't want to lose my job. And you almost have to go in with the mindset. You can say just about anything to me, just don't put your hands on me. Because I can always walk away. I don't have to sit there and listen to you. You're not going to scream and yell at me. I'm going to walk away. But the moment that you put your hands on me, then we've escalated it to a different level.
Then it's an issue, so you better grab a tissue.
Yeah, it would be an issue. It would be an issue. And people are just so disrespectful. That's the part I don't understand. Is the level of disrespect that's leveled at flight attendants, because I think a lot of people see what we do every day and they're like, how hard is it really to push a cart and serve beverages and seat people? Well, that's not all we do.
They have no idea.
They don't have any idea
what you guys have to do to be flight attendants.
No, they can train a monkey to do that. They don't even train us to do that. Our main component of our jobs is safety and security. When we went through training, they said that it was easier to get into Harvard than it was to get into flight attendant school, and I'm absolutely in agreement with that. It was the most difficult training I've ever encountered. It was a mixture of military boot camp with charm school, so you had to look good while you're fighting.
It's kind of like 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah, the testing is incredible. We took sometimes 2 and 3 tests a day, with materials that no one would ever have had access to. Learning the configurations of planes, all the emergency procedures, where all the emergency equipment is on. At the time, I think that we had 14 different styles of planes, and you have to know where everything is. In the testing phase, you can't get below a 90 or that's failing. And you only have 3 opportunities to fail either a test, your evacuation drill, or the other components of training. So if you get an 89, you flunked.
Is it true that you guys have to know every airport by its name?
The airport codes, yes.
I
thought that was going to be the first test that I flunked, because you have to know every airport code in the world, not just in the United States, but in the world. And when they did the testing, you never knew which airports they're going to ask you on that test. So you literally had to memorize every airport code.
So people that think that it's just another pretty face that's pushing the cart down, they really don't know what you guys have to go through.
They don't. And what's so interesting about this industry is you have people from all walks of life that are part of this industry. We have doctors and lawyers and judges and nurses. And after going through the training, I have an immense respect for flight attendants because they're brilliant. I'm not saying that I'm brilliant. I was just blessed enough to pass the testing, but you can't be mentally challenged and do this job because you're doing a multitude of things all at once. You're surveying your customers, you're surveying the plane, you're surveying the cockpit, you're making sure that we're trained in medical responses too. So you have to pass all your medical certification to do the AED, the full spectrum. We go through firefighting school. We have to learn how to fight a fire in at 30,000 feet. So there's a multitude of, and you have to learn to go into the cockpit, because there has to be two people in the cockpit. So when the pilot or the co-pilot need to go to the restroom or stretch or whatever, we step into that cockpit. So if something were to happen.
And so in the meantime, now with what you just explained, now you got to deal with Boo Boo the Fool. And I just read former SNL Saturday Night Live comedian got in trouble because of a mask issue.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to deal with that. And not only top of that, what do you think about a lot of pent up anger or energy because of we're coming out of COVID and people been stir crazy in the house?
Yeah, I think that's some of it too. And they're still angry that we're still in the mask mandate portion of travel. So I think that's part of the frustration. And
which can we say, or can you say that that's not your decision?
No, it's not our decision. It's FAA rule, period. And so, now that they were going to bring back alcohol on the planes, but after the latest string of violent outbursts, they're waiting even to bring alcohol, because that's part of the problem too. They get on the plane, they're already drunk, which they can still do inside the airport. And then they get on the plane and they just literally act a fool. And so we tried to explain to them that the mask mandate has nothing to do with us. We're just doing our jobs and enforcing what the FAA says to do. I think what needs to happen is stop giving them an opportunity to allow it to escalate. Because I'm not going to sit there and argue with somebody. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you one time, you choose not to do it. You will not continue on this flight. Mm-hmm. Period. And I think if more people start doing that, the flight attendants, they're trying to balance being customer friendly with dealing with people on the plane that are just disruptive. And it makes us be the mask police, which is unfair to us. So we shouldn't have to continue to argue with people for something that's a worldwide issue.
Or not only do you guys have to sit up and be the mask police, but then now you have people who are on the opposite sides of political agendas. Now they're fighting, and now you got to be referee and get them separated.
Right. Yeah, because we've had flights break out on the plane between Trump supporters and non-Trump supporters, vaccinators, non-vaccinator, mask wearer. I mean, it's just, you feel like you're being a referee half the flight. And then on top of that, with the flight cancellations because of weather and staffing issues, people are just on edge, and we had one flight attendant, happened to be a young Black flight attendant. She hadn't been flying that long. Literally had been delayed almost 24 hours in flight. So that's exhausting to a flight attendant. Hadn't had anything to eat. Finally gets to a destination and she said, I've got to eat or I'm going to pass out. So she went to get something to eat. The flight was delayed anyway. So as she's coming back to the plane, the gate agent makes this announcement about the flight being delayed because she wanted to go get something to eat. Wow. So then the passengers start calling her the N-word and the B-word, and the rest of her crew was extremely rude to her. It was a horrible experience for her. And she said the passengers were calling her names and nobody came to her defense.
And all this is happening when you're trying to help people to get from one place to another, and you guys got to deal with this.
Right. So we have a Black, it's called Wakanda. It's the Black Association of Flight Attendants, and Yeah, so we're getting a lot of reports on that kind of behavior, and um, I felt really bad for this young lady because she was talking about quitting, and so we explained to her that you're not you're not obligated to fly if you feel unsafe. From the moment that the gate agent caused that hostile environment, she should have just told them, "I'm not flying. You find somebody else," and that would have she would have been backed by the union and everything else. But she was young; she didn't know that she had
Mhm.
that option. But yeah, and it's unfortunate, and I don't know how it's going to change unless they start really hammering people about behaving on these planes. There shouldn't be room for debate. You act up, you get off.
No room.
Period. Yeah,
None.
you're.
None.
Mm-mm.
Jack Pay says masks are essential for the safety of our citizens because of vaccination rates in the USA are far above some of the places planes are flying into. Basic common sense.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with this new variant, you're still having people come in from overseas, and you don't know who's vaccinated and who's not. So they say that the air on an airplane is filtered and well cleaned, but we've had so many flight attendants test positive for the COVID, when during the height of the COVID um, pandemic, and we lost a lot of flight attendants and pilots to the
Wow.
COVID. Yeah,
Wow. So you guys are sitting up there trying to do your job, and now you got to deal with that.
yeah,
Uh, you have
I'm
to
on
deal with
TV.
COVID as well,
Right, absolutely,
and the loss of your friends and people that you worked with,
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
added into a toxic political game. I
it's
don't know.
tough.
It's
It's
tough.
tough.
This
Yeah,
is
it's
tough.
tough. Yeah, I think hopefully it'll get better. I'm praying it'll get better. Um, and I really feel that our new people, the new flight attendants that are coming in, they look at things a little bit differently. So you may see a little more of them fighting back. They're not going to sit up and allow you to attack them. They're not. And I'm waiting to see it's eventually going to happen when a flight attendant just knocks a passenger out, after they've assaulted them. And
Mhm.
I'm anxious to see how the airline responds to that.
How is America doing, or how the flight attendants doing? Because you guys are dealing with a shortage of flight attendants
Yes,
and pilots.
and pilots. Yeah, so it's causing delays. I mean, American has already pulled 1% of their flights for the month of July. And because they just don't have the personnel, and not just pilots and flight attendants, we're talking about baggage and gate agents. They were talking about reducing some of the flight. What am I trying to say? The gate agents to one gate agent per flight. So that caused a problem I saw recently down going to Orlando from Dallas, because you had one of the bigger planes, which holds like 260 people, with one gate agent to board that flight.
That's insane.
It's
That's,
insane.
that's setting people off to fail.
Yes. So then they get on the plane because they're angry. They've either got come through TSA angry because somebody's taken something for them, or they got patted down. So then they're angry from coming through security. Then they get to the gate. They have an issue with the gate agent. So we catch it when they get on the plane, because now they're angry at everyone, and they come on the plane with these horrible attitudes and angry, and then we have to get 35,000 feet in the air, and then they act a fool because of something that they've encountered coming through TSA or at the gate, and they're still angry.
I think it really comes down to what you said, that the FDA has to come down and be strict on this $35,000, $50,000 person fine, and you can't fly no more.
Right. On
Um,
any airline.
Right. It's not like, you're taking your Tinker toys away.
Right.
No, you are endangering the lives of people,
Exactly.
because maybe you do want to wear, you want somebody to wear a mask, or you don't wear a mask, and or you think you can treat a flight attendant any way that you want to.
Right.
You, this is a dangerous situation.
It is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Yeah, and I've been insulted. I mean, I've had people say crazy stuff to me, but um fortunately, I haven't had a situation where anybody's physically tried to do anything to me. Um I do have a funny story about something that happened on my flight. This was pre-pandemic, where we're going to I think we were going to the West Coast because it was like a 4.5, 5 hour flight. And this gentleman got on. He was a really big guy, like he was almost like a professional wrestler, but really built. Just maybe about 6'5". He
So
gets
kind of
on.
my size, but in shape.
Yes, just like you, handsome, just like you. So he gets on and was extremely nice initially. Came back. We were setting up the galley and asked if we could get him an alcoholic beverage, and we explained to him, no, that's against FAA rules. Once we get in the air, though, we'll be more than happy to provide you with whatever you'd like, to drink. So we get up in the air. We're doing the beverage service. We're walking backwards because we're going towards the back of the plane. And I almost tripped over something, and it was him laying in the floor, passed out drunk or high. We're not quite sure. So then once we got him up, he went in the bathroom to clean himself up and opened up the bathroom door with nothing but a shirt on.
Stop it.
And yeah. So my coworker said, "Sound pretty." My coworker said, can you put your shirt on, please?" So he shut the door, stayed in the bathroom another 15, 20 minutes. We're thinking maybe he passed out, so we're concerned. We finally get the door open. This time he's totally naked. A lady is coming out of the bathroom across the hall. She screams and shuts the door. So we instruct him to demand that he put his clothes back on. He finally does. He comes out. We tell him to have a seat and that we're going to be looking at contacting the authorities once we get on the ground. Well, we thought everything was settled down. The next thing we know, he's walked up to first class. It's dark now, up from first class, everybody's trying to rest. And he's got his phone out, putting it in the faces of the first class passengers, asking where his charger is. And so we told him, so we called the captain and he said, we may have to make this a level 4 threat or whatever. So we asked these able-bodied passengers who happen to be like huge guys too, that if we have to take this guy down, are you willing to help us? And they said yes. We've been watching him the whole flight. So he sits down. We finally get him to sit down, and we explained to him that once we get on the ground, you're to stay seated, or we will pretty much use the restraints to hold you in your seat. So that was my biggest thing. I really thought that we were going to have an incident and there was nowhere to divert because we were over the mountains. And I laughed because the young lady that was up front was a new flight attendant. And so I was the lead. And so I told her, just go. I said, this is a level 4, get prepared. You know what to do. So she comes back, and I'd never laughed so hard. She had on her apron, and she had everything she could consider to be a weapon. She had wine bottle openers. She had the coffee pot. She had a wine bottle. She had knives. She had forks. So
Yeah.
she was ready. But that's
So
really the only time that I felt threatened.
so okay, so the FDA needs to enforce stricter rules.
Yes.
What are some other things that need to happen? Then I'm gonna ask you to put a different hat on.
I think that maybe the media could help more, by um, covering the stories more, because I think the more people are aware of what's happening and what the consequences are, it may curb some of that behavior. That they realize that not only are they going to get a fine, but you're going to jail and you're never
Mhm.
going to be able to travel again on an airline, on any airline. And it may be something that they have to coordinate with other modes of transportation, and you're just banned from using any public transportation.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Now
It's
I'm gonna
almost got
ask
to
you.
be something strong.
I'm gonna ask you to put on another hat because there are some issues happening in Muskegon County, political wise, and I just saw you take a deep breath and said, "Lord, why did he go there?" But I think you were at the protest, and can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Well, we have a commissioner um, who is the chairman of the Republican Party.
Who is welcome to
And
come on this show anytime to explain.
absolutely, absolutely, I'd love to hear his explanation. Um, and he has, over a significant period of time, continued to make racist, homophobic, uh, bullying type of memes and comments and Facebook posts and um, towards individuals that don't deserve, well, no one deserves to be bullied.
So now
And
he's going after the chair, Bob Skolnick.
yes, he's going after Bob Skolnick, basically because Bob has a tendency to vote his conscience and not necessarily along party lines. Um, and so he decided that he was going to focus his harassment on Mr. Skolnick. Um, and the things that he was posting were so vile and so awful. This is a man that has served the community um, wholeheartedly, put his money where his mouth is. I mean, he's given and given and given. He and his beautiful wife that passed away, so he's still in the grieving process,
Right.
and everybody knows that. And for whatever reason, uh, the commissioner Zach decided that he was going to focus his animosity towards Bob. And so the community, it was like that was the last straw. It was ridiculous. I mean, not only was he attacking people from different ethnicities, he was, the gay community, and just the community in general. We had people talking about it was all over national news because someone in Vegas saw it on their news, and they're saying, how embarrassing is this? Who wants to come to a community in which you have all of this racial disparity from the top? And he wants to say that this is his freedom of speech. It is. Everybody has the right to say what they want, but then you have to still suffer the consequences of what you say. And as a leader in the community, you don't have the luxury of always saying what you truly feel, because you're not only responsible for your constituency as a county commissioner, you're responsible for the welfare of the entire community, not just your little portion of people that believe the way that you believe and feel the way that you feel. And so based on that, the community was just sick and tired of being sick and tired and wanting to take a stance. And even if the protest didn't do anything more than make people aware, it was still successful. And I find it hard to believe that his entire district feels the way he does. I think it's a small pocket. It might be larger than we anticipate, but it's not his entire constituency. And so we saw that at the protest too. There were people from his district protesting.
Now,
So
there that so the county chair has asked the county attorney to look at it as well, to see
yes.
if anything has happened.
Well, yeah, because the county does have an anti-bullying and hostile workplace uh what am I trying to say? Legal standard that there is something in place to prevent people from bullying and creating a hostile work environment. So there are policies and procedures in place, and so um, I think they're looking into that. They referred the matter over to the committee to make a recommendation and bring it back to the full board.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Because not only are they protesting, there was a protest, but they are protesting online. They're asking people to
Mhm.
copy and paste message or send him a message and
Yeah.
that they don't approve of it. So that's happening.
Mhm.
And he is welcome to come on the show anytime because
Absolutely.
I would love to talk to him.
Mhm.
But you know, I'm the media, so I'm the enemy. No,
Right.
I'm trying to get down the truth and I want to hear what you got to say.
Right. Right. And he felt that it was okay because it was on his personal Facebook page, but his personal Facebook page is also public.
Mm,
So that was the issue, and I just don't understand how anybody operates in hate towards others. I just don't understand that mentality. Um but I think we have, and I'm going to say this is probably going to but I think we have our own version of Trump.
well, if you look across the county and across the United States, if you look at people that supported the 45, the President Trump, they are is very conservative, including judges.
Right.
So a lot of people that support him are in power right now.
Mhm.
But with that said, that does not give them right to some of the things that are happening, like taking voter rights away or a school board what should be taught in school. What do you mean you're not going to teach about slavery, but teach about the Civil War? So these are things that I keep telling people that we have to get involved, or these
Yeah.
kind of things are going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very important that we address these voter issue, um, and also the school issues with the cancel culture attempt and
Hmm.
trying to change history. You can't change history. I know that they had an issue up in, I believe it was White House schools, where and that's been kind of the platform that the Republicans are taking now. Let's kind of focus on making sure that we attack the institution of learning, and basically that's institutional racism, which has been there anyway because they haven't taught fully um, the true history of this country. Um,
I want to get your opinion as the show is winding up. I had this. Not everybody is in a celebrative mood when it comes down to Independence Day because of what's going on. Today is the anniversary of the Civil Rights Act being signed.
yeah.
But look what we're going through as rights are being taken away. How important is that people have those difficult conversations with people that don't understand the plight that we have been through? Because some people, one of the things is that a lot of people feel that we're being pushed on them.
Hmm.
Wait a minute, no, we've been denied, and now things are evening up. How important is it that we get involved in this and explain to people?
I think it's very important, because surprisingly, and I haven't heard a lot of talk about this, but okay, they're restricting the voting access. If you've gone to the wrong, in some states, if you go to the wrong polling place, you're going to be denied voting. You won't be given a provisional ballot that allows you to vote anyway, and then they look at your credentials later. Surprisingly, that may affect as many Republican voters as it does Democratic voters because you can't hurt somebody else without hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, I think they haven't looked at the full spectrum. I think that they will see that you've got a lot of um, underserved communities that just aren't minorities in these other states. So I think it's very important that we focus on um, exactly what they're trying to do with moving the polling places, and then the people don't have polling places. It's just and I think the redistricting issue is going to help with some of that
Mm-hmm.
manipulation of the polling places. So yeah, this is something that we can't take lightly. I mean, it's been going on a long time, but it's escalating to the point now, especially with the Supreme Court making the rulings that they're making,
Mm-hmm.
supporting some of the changes in Alabama and Georgia. And so that's why I think the Department of Justice is shoring up their abilities to try to go after those illegal voting laws that were set up in Atlanta and Georgia.
Hmm. Karen and Jack has a couple of things to say. Jack, appreciate it. I got to get this question to Karen. Karen, seriously, be safe up there. But what would you say to the people that are thinking about flying, or what would you say to a kid that maybe would like to be a flight attendant?
Just that when you get on that plane, realize that our main job is to keep you safe. Um, we're professionally trained to deal with any situation, emergency situation that may arise on the plane. But realize that, flight attendants have had long days too. We've gone without eating, but our main concern is to make sure that our customers are comfortable, healthy, and safe. And for those that are interested in going into that field of study, it really is an amazing opportunity to see the world, to meet amazing people. It's not always this crazy. Um, but with any job, you're going to have your challenges. But I would encourage anybody, you have to be 21, but anyone, and I would have started a long time ago had I known what a wonderful opportunity this was. So I just want to encourage people to stay safe when they're flying. Make sure you keep your mask on. Make sure you take some wipes with you and wipe off the table, the seat table, because that is the dirtiest part of the entire plane. So I always tell people, make sure you wipe that off before you put your food on it or your drinks or anything like that. Make sure you wipe off the seats, your armrests and what have you, and just stay safe. You're coming into contact with people that you don't, you would never ever have any contact with before, with people traveling from all over the world. So just exercise caution, stay safe, and enjoy your trip. Be nice.
Karen Boone Jenkins, you know, much love going out to you and
Love
your
you
husband.
too.
You have a great holiday, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Love you, Greg.
Love you too.
Okay.
All right, people. Look, as I was saying before, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act this date in 1964. That was the year I was born. If we're going to have true independence for everybody, we're going to have to come to the table and talk and really talk and understand where people are coming from. You don't understand a man until you walk the mile in his shoes. With that said, I'm Gregory T. Roberts. Have a great 4th of July. And this year, when you put that flag up, or if you don't put that, do some thinking about this country that you live in. We are not perfect, but we're on life support. And if we want to stay and have the greatest country in the world, then it's going to take some action by you. Take care and God bless.